Interventions, our city became the first metro in the country to develop the economic recovery plan to mitigate against the impact of COVID-19 on the local economy in particular. Secondly, as part of our commitment to support business, we decided to set aside about 21 million rand for the economic recovery fund, and the application process was open for affected small businesses to apply for the relief funding, which we made available. Then about 5,000 applications were received, and about 700 businesses were selected, and will each receive approximately 30,000 rand. The successful applicants have been notified. The process is now at the payment stage, so I'm sure that people have been really patiently waiting for this. So it's now going to happen, and we must apologize for the delays, because those delays were informed by some of the technicalities when it comes to SCM processes, which we have now resolved. So far, about 80% of successful applicants have submitted their requisite documentation, and we urge others to submit, because this information is really required for audit purposes and to ensure compliance with treasury regulations, since these are public funds and we must account to the public about our spend. Whilst we regret the delay, we urge beneficiaries to comply and respond speedily. So those who have been notified kindly expedite the process of giving us all the documents that are required. Colleagues, other successful relief interventions which we have decided as the council, the city doubled the funding of community tourism organizations from 250,000 to 500,000. So which means this is a 100% increase. I'm sure this has been welcomed in many really platforms. Rate rebates were also implemented from April to December 2020 and further extended to June 2021 this year. A report on further rate rebates based on the adjusted lockdown level 4 is now being tabled to the council. Municipal-owned accommodation bookings has been directed to our BNBs so that we also empower them during this period. To date, 17 small hotels and 8 BNBs were booked that are also members of the community tourism organization that we fully support. We also reintroduced campaign of Durban to visitors as a cleaner and a fresher Durban that is cautious of health and safety security as well. We now move to the current successful interventions, as we have alluded to some of them above. Physical inspections at approximately 300 accommodation establishments on the COVID-19 health and safety protocols were conducted. The result of the audit was that 99% of establishments are COVID safe, which gives more hope for visitors. Quality assurance certificates and an easy-to-use guide were issued to all our community organizations and members thereof. Online discussions with products within the tourism value chain was conducted in March 2021, which we termed Imbizo, to respond to questions of stakeholders and inform of marketing plans for the Easter holidays and beyond. Colleagues, interaction with product owners on tourism packages during our roadshows to Western Cape, Gauteng, were a major success. We'll now move to the negative impact on the unrest that has been we've been faced with. The recent civil unrest, colleagues, caused a reputational damage to the Durban brand. The city had projected the following before the unrest. Firstly, a 50% visitor arrival at adjusted lockdown level 4. However, the occupancy rate between 8 and 17 July was 19% as a result of the unrest. This indicates a loss of 31% in terms of occupancy rates within our municipality. The actual economic impact in our city was a loss of about 50,000 visitors, with 110 million in direct spend, 280 million in tourism gross domestic product, and loss of 600 jobs. This really indeed, it is a negative impact to the economy of our city and the envisaged growth that we have. In relation to interventions to mitigate the negative impact of the unrest, colleagues, we have implemented key interventions aimed at ensuring a safe and welcoming environment in the tourism. High visibility of law enforcement officers on key strategic points and zones such as beachfronts, airports, harbour, local businesses, shopping malls, hospitals, to mention a few. And we as city leadership have also taken an initiative to visit communities where we identified some racial tensions which were really emerging in those areas. And we were able to work with provincial government and national government to put that to rest. As part of restoring the confidence of tourists and investors in eThekwini, we have embarked on a process of rebuilding and reconstructing the destination image with industry players. This has resulted in safety and security in tourism hotspots being prioritized in our city. Furthermore, there is enhanced community development and collaboration such as Know Your City campaign. The campaign focuses on tourism awareness and education to various communities on the economic value tourism. The new developments for our city, colleagues, the city is developing new tourism products along the promenade, which are going to be instrumental in the process of rebuilding our economy, particularly the tourism sector. Our officials will outline these projects for you and the value they will add to our tourism packages as a city. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, today I'll be attending a meeting at 1 o'clock convened by the President to look at the state of COVID-19 statistics in South Africa. And we are praying and hoping for the better, that we'll have to really continue to relax the economy so that we can recoup from all the losses that most businesses, especially this sector of tourism, had incurred. During the long weekend of 8 August, our city was able to attract 34,500 visitors, a direct spend of about 46 million rands, and the contribution to the GDP, which amounted to 113 million and approximately 31% occupancy rate. This demonstrates visitors' confidence in our beautiful and the warmest city in Africa. We want to reassure travelers that we are indeed ready to lay down the red carpet and welcome them back to our beautiful city. We are saying that Durban has got your back. Visit Durban now. don't miss out. I thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Mayor, thank you very much on your presentation. We will now move to the next item because we intend to take all the presentations and then allow for the engagement. The next presentation, which is going to be put up, it's a presentation that will be done by the Deputy City Manager, Economic Development and Planning, which is a very short presentation on waiting for the team to put that presentation up, which is a short presentation on the initiative that has been taken by eThekwini municipality to recognize the to recognize the stakeholders in the tourism sector. If you can go to the next slide. Yeah. So the city in the meeting of full council took a decision to recognize people who are in this sector, to have the first of its kind tourism awards, which are for eThekwini businesses only, and held by and be hosted by eThekwini municipality. And this is very essential because we want to identify pockets of excellence within the sector. It is critical that we do this because there are some businesses that that are no longer with us, who have closed down due to COVID. There are other businesses who are struggling because there is very little business, and there are other businesses who I won't say that they are doing well, but they are able to survive. And there is another set of businesses who, despite the challenges that we are facing as the country because of COVID-19, but are renovating their businesses. They are also not only renovating, others are building from the scratch. They're coming up with new buildings, new products, and others have decided to form partnerships so that they can stay afloat. So it was then the view of the municipality that during these dark times, we need to recognize people who have worked in the sector and who are continuing to work in the sector and who are working tirelessly despite the challenges that are out there. So these awards will be held next year, but the process is going to start this year to identify such businesses and to start to do assessments. There's a criteria that will be utilized to do the assessments. But the main aim, as you can see from the objectives up there, is to reward excellence, is also to create an awareness about the value and the importance of the tourism towards growing local and provincial and national economy, and also to incentivize the tourism products, especially within the ambit of COVID-19 pandemic and beyond, and also use the awards to capacitate small businesses that are in the sector, small business across the entire eThekwini, but also with specific reference to those who are operating in the township and rural areas. And then the other point that I would like to emphasize is that these awards will also be used to further market the city. I know that some in the industry, they've been asking questions on why don't we use the money that we're going to utilize to host the event? Why don't we use it as injection into the business? But which is correct. But the other side of it is we need to get people coming down to Durban, and we need to give our potential visitors an assurance that we've got sound products, we've got excellent experiences. And one of the ways of doing this is to recognize those that are working hard. I know that we are all working hard, but through the criteria, we'll be able to identify the best amongst the best. And that on its own, it will promote the city, and it will send a positive message to the potential visitors and other partners who are outside of the city to say Durban is ready, and Durban is taking care of visitors, and it is I mean, in terms of tourism, Durban is open and it has never been closed. And there will be various types of awards, which amongst others it will include the upcoming filmmakers, the service excellence, sustainable development, entrepreneurship, and then there will be a special mayoral awards, which I think that there will be about two, which will be the awards from the mayor, and then these are the types of some of the prizes that will be given to small businesses. So in conclusion, in terms of what I'm presenting, what we are saying as the city is that we need to bring back business tourism. We need to bring back events. We need to bring back all types of visitations to the city. And we need to send out positive images in the form of activations, and also in the form of the other platforms, which the awards will be one of such platforms. So the Durban tourism staff and eThekwini municipality will not be directly involved in adjudicating. There will be a panel of judges assisted by auditors. We are going to have a PR exercise that we're going to embark upon to make sure that everyone is aware of this initiative. And then the people in the industry will be workshopped, and then we will then have the nominations from the industry, and also the public will be encouraged to to nominate businesses in various categories. So your customers will have an opportunity to do nominations. And then there will be inspections, as I have said, and only private sector entities that will be nominated. So there will be no nomination of a government entity. So you can't nominate Ushaka Marine or Shark Sport or nominate the ICC because those are owned by us. So they will be nominated through the nominations will only be for the people who are in the private sector. And next slide. I think the last issue for me is around the issue of the visitor marketing strategy, because the visitor marketing strategy it is due for review, and in the last council meeting, a resolution was taken that we must go out and consult with yourselves in reviewing the strategy that we'll use between now to 2026. I mean, the process has already started. So Durban Tourism will be engaging with the industry, and we want to ensure that by December the review has been completed, if possible, approved by council, so that by January 2022 we've got a new visitor marketing strategy. So we would like to request all the stakeholders to work with us in the review of the visitor marketing strategy. Next slide. I have already spoken to the tourism awards that we're going to have, and I've already mentioned that the review of the strategy will be completed this year, and it is a 5-year strategy, which we are hoping that come January next year we'll be having a new visitor marketing strategy. So that is the short presentation from my side. So if we go back to the agenda, I think the next presentation, next short presentation will be done by Winile, and then we'll have the question and answer session, which will be directed to all the presenters, and we'll all engage on it. So Winile, you can come in with a short presentation so that we can move to the question and answer session. Thank you.
Thank you, DCM, and greetings to Bab Mayor, greetings to Acting City Manager, to Chair, to the stakeholders of tourism, to all leadership that may be present in this meeting, and also to the team of Durban Tourism and all protocol observed. Once again, thank you, DCM, for the opportunity. My presentation will just be a quick through, because a lot of the elements have been covered by the leadership in terms of reflection. So I'd like to request the person controlling the slides that we just go to slide 8, please, because most of the elements in the other slides have already been covered by His Worship the Mayor. The presentation will just quickly reflect on the approach that when the COVID came in, it was focusing on local, intra-provincial, and inter as well as the regional. So it's going to then focus on what is next, what have been the key milestones, and in terms of on the ground, and what is next as we move forward, and with a collaborative approach because we believe we are in this thing together towards seeking solutions for our tourism in Durban, considering that we are having challenges that are coming for the first time in history. So just at high level is to indicate that since the COVID came in, with obviously keeping the brand alive, we have kept the brand alive through adapting to virtual activations and also just through in-market activations, focusing on domestic as well as provincially as well as nationally, because the domestic market has been the key focus. And that is just a table to indicate the platforms that we've used and the value that we derived from there, and working in partnership with different tourism businesses, alternating, because at a different given time, it's all about affording as much as possible businesses the platform, but more so the destination at large, in terms of making sure that people are still aware that the destination exists. It can still offer what they need for their tourism and travel needs. Can we please move to the next slide? So next slide is Pogazi. Thank you. So just some key elements to highlight here, which have helped us to yield positive results, which we saw in the different, peak times. Last year, around level 3, when all the harsher levels started relaxing, we embarked on a virtual experience, a virtual July experience to keep that brand alive, and it yielded positive results because we were the only city that actually had a talkability within that season. And for us, it helped us because it continued with the momentum, because we wanted to make sure that we are not forgotten around the highlights of the mega, brand that we generally have. Hoping that when the relaxation happens, maybe next year, we will have a better situation to host this event. And then we had the launching of the office together with unveiling of key tourism landmarks within the beachfront, which were the frames. Those were all the attempts to actually make sure that as people come to Durban, there are landmarks at which they can continue to take imagery on and post on their digital platforms for much more, exposure, because that is where people are heading to in terms of their behavior. And then we had the road shows within the, firstly we started within Durban in light of just robustly galvanizing that people must visit their city, and also within the province where we went to different parts of the province, Port Shepstone, Ladysmith, and we also went to other various parts of Durban, and then we expanded it when the travel, regulations allowed us to Mpumalanga, Limpopo, as well as Gauteng. That was actually last year, just because before the festive of last year. And the focus there was more on the landlocked, provinces, simply because we were targeting for the festive season. Well, unfortunately, the regulations were tightened in the festive season. However, when they were relaxed, we were able to stage some activations within the city, which was the Etumlazi. The highlights that we had was the Christmas carols Etumlazi in a township, and it yielded a lot of, exposure for us. Now, the results or the impact of these road shows, which happened just before festive season last year, were yielded during the Easter season, because that is where we saw a much more influx in terms of coming to Durban compared to what we had last year. So we continued in terms of the activations around the country, where we then tapped into other parts of these provinces we had previously visited, working with media, working with other, tourism. This was a partnership with the tourism businesses and also small businesses, because for us it was important to take the experience to the in market, not just only have the awareness, but it's also about a feel, or for people to feel what Durban has to offer. So we had the rickshaw pullers, we had some businesses that were part of this activation, and also the brand awareness. Can we please move on to the next slide? So these happened in May and in June. So working with the in-market regional, radio stations, regional media, and indeed those actually were beneficial because the information was also distributed through the exhibitions which we obtained from our trade to put in the packages, and also the information that is there in the respective season as we were marketing ahead. Can we please move to the next slide? So we tapped into new ground in Cape Town. Let's proceed. We tapped into new ground in Cape Town in June, where we did a parade, and there was robust presence for us in the city of Cape Town, considering that our a competitive advantage in relation to being a coastal city. That is what we took with ourselves. And also there's also branding presence there through the billboards. When you drive in the main roads, there's that that brand presence for the city of Durban. So again, the impact was observed there with these interventions that we had. Can we please continue? So these are just visuals around the type of activations that were done and the visibility. So different parts of this in-market. So this is Cape Town in terms of the parade. So the parade was within, key tourism hotspots of the place of Cape Town. As a result, the impact and the feedback that we obtained was, positive in relation to the visitors being aware or the market being aware of the destination and indeed visiting the destination, others first-time visitors. And then we then recently had as part again of keeping the brand alive, we launched our vignette, which we had in partnership with the iconic Black Coffee, who is an international DJ. This was a significant element. This project, we started working on it from last year during hard lockdown or relaxed lockdown, simply because it was all about leveraging on this iconic, a DJ as he tours the world, being from Durban, being from a township, to then have a vignette that will talk about his journey and the city that he actually comes from. So that is aimed to then go on the screens as well as go on to the different platforms that he is touring, and that will be a continuous destination promotion for the destination, because as he performs, this is set to be a preamble for the performances, so that all the crowds, as we would see internationally, there are those events that are happening, the crowds, they're able to see and know about Durban through this partnership. And this was at no cost to the city. He just did it as giving back to the city. That talks to partnership, it talks to leveraging, and it was a positive transaction for us as the city. And just to now move on to what is next, just starting from July 2021 and beyond. So the DCM is just touched on the visitor strategy, which I will not talk more about. And then I just like to reflect on that we have had a Women in Tourism activation, which was recognizing and activating through the different women, which was a more of taking different women from the various walks of life within the tourism sector and exposing them, celebrating them, but at the same time exposing them to the different parts of the city, which had an element of a know your city a component. So that unfortunately we could not take all women considering the restrictions. However, in as far as the reach, because we also had a national women which came in and were leveraging on their social media as they were coming to Durban. We had Cllr Bawa, who's from Cape Town, and that was important for us because as they were part of this tour, going to the township, after the unrest, it was a demonstration that Durban is safe, Durban is open for business, there's no issues in Durban, there's no threat in Durban. So these are the kind of approaches that we look at doing going forward, simply because it's all about reinstilling the confidence of our visitors that our city is safe, it's open for business. And then the next one is, as we head into September, which is the tourism month as well as the heritage month. We looking at amplifying from what we achieved last year, which was Reignite Durban, but this time we want to amplify more the my city, my heritage theme around integrating the tourism with the heritage, because as the city, the key attractions that we have a great component of heritage, and also galvanizing the Durbanites and any other person nationally to say Durban belongs to everybody. Let's explore Durban. Let's talk about Durban positively. Let's own Durban. Let's protect Durban, and let us take pride in our city. So there will be various activities throughout September, which will be actually, shared in terms of what is happening where. So for us, it's about showcasing the heritage through different pillars of, food, pillars of fashion, pillars of entertainment, to say what exactly is my city, what does my city, my heritage mean to you, and also engaging with the public through various platforms and having a conversation and public participation around this, which will give a spin, a ripple effect around the awareness as well, so that people are aware of their city and also have incentives for them to participate in this, My City, My Heritage activation. It will not just end as a launch, but it will also be as an activation. So the date here for the launch will be shared because we're still looking at a viable, conducive time at which this can happen. We were hoping it would be done, but the weather was not favorable to us. But we have now a better date because we want it to showcase the warmness of Durban as we are also getting into spring in September. And that will then be amplified by an activation, or it will be a springboard or for an activation that we are theming the Durban Travel Extravaganza, which is basically saying, let us all, different people, just go on a spree of traveling in Durban, because there's a lot of things and hidden gems that people can explore within Durban. And that again will have a robust participation of the potential visitors in market in the various parts of South Africa, and also just moving into the southern countries. So we're looking at that, linking with the summer into the festive. That becomes the narrative that Durban, let's just go on a full-blown extravaganza of travel, so that we are able to explore what the city has. And that will also be broadcasted through the different, regional media, which we already are running some, promotion in those media. So it's a matter of changing the messaging in terms of focusing on what we are driving at a particular time. So I've touched on the robust in-market destination promotion, which is currently ongoing. And then the other elements which are in the pipeline is elements of destination partnership with the creative industry, a more structured or an enhancement to the structured and systematic, but also tapping into the filming, because filming is part of tourism. So from the Mayor's Economic Council, there are different verticals or work streams that we have there. So between the tourism work stream as well as the creative work stream, there are programs that are actually currently being concretized, whereby from the different, soapies that are shot in Durban, we're looking at a more robust, presence and visibility of the shoots of those soapies happening in different attractions, just giving a storyline around the destination, because those shows have got a huge viewership. So that is going to be concretized very soon, and we are going to be heading to council for approval, and then the shooting will happen, and we will start seeing more of the attractions on the screens of Durban. On our screens as we watch these shows. We've got Uzalo, we have the Durban Gem, and then there's also the third one, which is Imbeu. So the conversations are underway, and we'll be concretizing and getting onto, action around those. And then as a continuation, the Know Your City campaign, which we did virtually and on the ground, but because now many international people are not able to come on the ground, the virtual will be more of what we do. And this is working also with the international, partners, the tour operators internationally, so that they are kept abreast about what is happening in Durban, what is new, because that is what it is. It's about after COVID, when the international borders fully open, what is this new thing that they will be coming to, to Durban, because that's what the studies have shown us in relation to the consumer behavior around expectations. And then moving to the summer season promotion in partnership with trade, some conversations have happened, which we're looking to concretize very soon, around a Durban summer fever, just to make sure that through collaborations, there's packages, there's incentives through the integrated ecosystem of destination promotion, moving away from the isolated or individualistic promotion within the different businesses, because it's about giving more value for money for the traveler as a destination. The economy has hit the disposable income. So for us as a destination, it's important to actually be mindful of that and come up with creative and more value preposition programs for the consumer. And then the resuscitation of business events. My leadership has touched on it. And yes, there are conventions that are in the pipeline in relation to happening in our city. And those are actually a good stepping stone, around resuscitating the numbers coming in, as well as boosting the accommodation and different, activities within the city of Durban in the value chain. And then the ongoing resuscitation of the air access through the participation and engagement with the Routes Development Committee. Airlines, they did not travel, but it didn't mean that we needed to stop the conversation. It's all about re-engineering, which is currently happening. Durban Tourism participates in the Routes Development Committee. And there's a current, review of a strategy around the best approach and an engagement with the different, airlines and projections, and also just aligning with the relaxations and the de-risking as well. So that is also an element which is in motion. And then just lastly, it's sustained engagements with the international partners in preparation for international travel. And that, as a city, we are doing it in collaboration with various spheres of government, national, provincially, as well as the private, organized business, in terms of just making sure that we are able to prepare and continue to advocate for the readiness of the destination. But as it stands, our key focus is primarily on the domestic market, and it becomes a moving target simply because it's all about adapting to the regulations as they are being announced in terms of high risk. Now, the other thing which is in the pipeline, events, which have been a huge component for the city in relation to bringing in numbers. We are embarking on, focus group engagements around, I'm sorry, there's
Sorry, Winile.
yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Bunny and Joyce. Bunny and Joyce, please, if you can mute Joyce, and you can mute, please. And then I can see you're still not muted. Bunny, can you mute, please? And Joyce,
I'm muted.
you're not.
Sorry, my apologies.
Yeah. And then Joyce, thank you. Continue, Winile.
Okay, thank you. Just lastly is to just indicate that with the approach of the continuous collaboration, they are these focused, stakeholder engagement for each sector. I was just talking about the events that in preparation for the festive season, again, forward planning, we are in the process of an engagement with all stakeholders or key stakeholders in the eventing, just to explore ways at which we could have some, events within the regulations, looking at different scenarios against the resources that we have, because as a city, we do not have a lot of resources in light of also being hit by COVID. But the whole aim is to just make sure that through the eventing experience, which we want to keep alive for the city of Durban in a creative way, we are able to come up with elements that attract the visitors to come to the destination in terms of experiences of eventing, in addition to the dining, culinary, shopping, and other, attractions and experiences that we have. So on that note, at DCM, I would like to just conclude there and say thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Winnie, for that extensive presentation. And colleagues, please mute and also switch off your videos. Now we are coming towards the most important part, which is a part of engagement, for you to engage with us. But before we do that, we also have the city manager, Mr. Musampele, who is here with us. And as the city manager, I would like to request him to say a few words before I open up for the engagement for questions or comments. So, city manager, you can give us your remarks, then we'll move on to the next item. Thank you.
Greetings, Bob Mayor, His Worship Councillor Kaunda. Greetings to the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Economic Development and Planning, Councillor Kaunda, Program Director and Deputy City Manager, Philip Tole, and greetings to the industry stakeholders who have taken their time to be with us in the meeting here this morning. I wish to make a couple of comments because His Worship the Mayor and through the presentation that the presentations that have been done by both DCM Tole and Mrs. Winnie, they've covered quite a lot pertaining to the business of today. But I just wanted to highlight the fact that given the fact that the bedrock of Durban's economy is tourism, and we pride ourselves in being the domestic tourism of choice in the country and indeed the subcontinent and the world at large. We owe this competitive advantage to the natural endowment in the form of pristine coastline, cultural and heritage diversity, and close proximity to the World Heritage Site, a number of nature reserves that we have in the province, and clearly the dynamism amongst the people of Durban. But more importantly, the clear vision by both the city's political and administrative leadership are some of the unique qualities that make Durban a tourism destination of choice. The aggressive destination marketing and partnerships with industry players like yourselves is another cornerstone which has led to the success and competitive tourism sector in Durban. With challenges such as COVID-19 and recently issues around the protest that the city has experienced in a couple of weeks, we have realized that to keep our tourism sector competent and dynamic, it is critical that we engage industry players like yourselves, mainly as an attempt to establish your needs, come up with relevant tourism offerings, the diversity there too, to ensure that we remain relevant in a competitive sector such as tourism. So today is really part of a process of trying to engage you. We are basically saying to you, we do not have all the answers, but we've got one common goal, which is to grow the economy of our beautiful city. And we know very well that the growth in this economy hinges on tourism as a sector. We do not have all the answers to the challenges that we face, and we are dependent on input from your good selves. So we want to assure you that all the input that you are going to make here this morning, we are going to inculcate those into a critical part of our strategy to ensure that you people who are in the tourism sector to grow your businesses are indeed able to do that. But more importantly, you are also able to contribute meaningfully in the competitive nature of our tourism as a sector. So with those few words, I am really saying I'm opening an opportunity through you, Program Director, for a robust engagement on the subject matter. Thank you very much.
Siyabonga City Manager, thank you very much, and thanks for being with us in this meeting. Colleagues, we are now opening up for a discussion. So we've got the mayor, we've got the city manager, we've got the deputy city manager. I think we also had deputy city manager Kumete in the meeting. I'm not sure whether he's still here. So we've got the senior leadership. We've got the chairperson of the committee, Cllr Kaunda. So let me now open up for questions and comments. So you can raise your hands using your gadgets so that I can start to recognize you. I can see there's a hand up, but it doesn't give me okay. Now I can see it's Paul. Yes, Paul.
Good day. Thank you for taking my question. If I may, I'd like to just give some feedback. My name is Paul Payne. I'm the chair of Thousand Hills CTO. Can you hear me? Is my mic clear?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Okay, just the feedback on it is that, as the city manager has just alluded, there are three primary, let's call it sectors in the discussion of tourism. There's the political, there's administrative, and the third one is the product owners, which are the tourism product owners. My feedback is just that there seems to be a little bit of a disconnect, certainly from my perspective. It's the first time I've heard that there's actually a campaign called the My Heritage, My City campaign, which is supposed to start this month. I'm not aware of any details of it. So my questioning is that, and also the visitor marketing strategy, which is already being presented to the council or in the process. I'm not aware of any interaction requested from CTOs, input from CTOs, and it seems a little bit back front, the process. I would have expected the people on the ground in the actual CTOs, the product owners, to actually have a fair amount of say in the specifics or the offerings of a strategy. I did at the last meeting we had with the councillors, where Thousand Hills CTO, EDTA, Durban Tourism met with the councillors of ECOD. And it was highlighted as an example that sport is a very, very high traffic vehicle for tourism. And the chair of ECOD actually commented on that as well during his closing remarks. It's that type of input that I think is lacking possibly to where the product owners can actually come in and give their input. So that's where my comment is coming from, where I'm saying I would like to see a slight adaptation to the way the administration of Durban tourism processing is concerned to actually include the CTOs a lot more at the earlier stages, rather than in hindsight where we get told what is going to happen, we get told what kind of marketing is occurring, etc., etc. So that's my comment stroke, feedback stroke question, if I could put it that way. Thank you very much.
Okay, no, thank you very much, Paul. Can I take more hands? Any further comments, questions? Yes, Pani.
Good morning to all. I'd just like to give you all a message from SATSA. SATSA currently is petitioning the British government in trying to lift the brand from the red flag status down to amber. So there is a form that is being circulated for UK residents to be able to sign this petition, so that only the government in the UK will look at this petition when they have 100,000 signatures. So I would like to submit this form through to you guys, so at least we can benefit by increasing the numbers signed for the petition, and hopefully we should be able to obtain the UK market by October or November. That's it for me.
Okay, all right. No, thanks, Pani. That is the petition to open up trade. Any further comments? Any further comments before we respond to the issues? Okay, let me allow Durban Tourism to respond on the issue of working together with CTOs in developing marketing programs. Winile.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Paul, for the comment. Okay, maybe just holistically, in terms of the working together, we have a team. Firstly, CTOs are the conduit for, it's a program that Durban Tourism is driving aggressively. And they are, as per the approval of the funding, around the plans that they also have, and that they are going to drive programs in their respective regions. However, on an ongoing basis, there's in the different regions that we have a team that is engaging, or like the engagement through the team within the regions. In addition to that, they are structured stakeholder engagements meetings, which would happen quarterly, in terms of what is it, to be discussed as per structured agenda. Now, in terms of the programs that they are in the pipeline, maybe just to mention particularly on this aspect, there's various approaches and various different circumstances, but in terms of the working, if there's a gap there is definitely a room for improvement, but there is a offices that we have within the regions, which we have the team and also regional marketing managers as assigned to the different regions, and around the two-way street of what plans within the regions city owes on behalf of the members that need to, or they suggest in terms of synergies, in terms of collaboration. But where there is, like, I'll call them corporate plans, in particularly with these ones, My City, My Heritage and the strategy. The My City, My Heritage is at a conceptual stage. It hasn't been launched. There's no details out there in public about it around My City, My Heritage. It was in terms of brought here as a thought process which would be unpacked. That is why there's no details that there is a date or this is what is going to be happening. So in terms of that, and again, the city or Durban Tourism cannot run the campaign alone. It needs to run it with the trade. It needs to run it with businesses. As a result of the thought process around the different activities that will be happening, they would not be solely driven by the Durban Tourism or the city. So same thing with the strategy. In terms of the strategy, at this point, I think when the DCM presented about the strategy, it was that there is a strategy for review. And that had been presented in platforms which we've had, to say we've had an adopted strategy and it's due for review. There is no stakeholder engagement that has happened about the strategy. Where we are is at a process of notifying council and getting the due authority to then start the engagement. That is in line with the due protocol. Before we can engage, we need to get authority in terms of what is in the pipeline and the robust focus group engagement, and as well as the consultant or whoever that will be driving that strategy. So based on certain merits, maybe just to summarize the response is to say different programs, they are in relation to, they apply different approaches. Now, if there is a programs that are in the pipeline, I'll take maybe the road shows. Those engagements, they do happen, but I'd like to just mention that the feedback we welcome, and if there is any gaps, but I think we just need to the outlook around certain approaches, and we are welcome to say any suggestions from trade in terms of the approaches. But if we need to follow certain protocols, because if we start engaging on certain things without authority and raising an expectation, we will then again be accountable to say, but you guys said this is what's going to happen, and then you find that we are now not able to execute it simply because there were certain things internally which didn't allow us to actually do it. But just rest assured to say we welcome the feedback, and also we are indeed here collaborating with the stakeholders. And just to indicate to CM, just after the unrest, there was also a meeting where the tourism stakeholders were invited, because again, we didn't want to come up with solutions or interventions on our own as tourism, and becomes a top-down approach to say, here is a situation. The mayor has done an engagement with the holistic business, and for us, we would now like to zoom it into the tourism sector. Can we please just engage and get some inputs around activities or interventions, because you are the business people who would see things differently, and so that we are able to then look into them and come forth and execute them collaboratively. And yes, other businesses, they did such that there were other one-on-one meetings, and but it's an ongoing engagement which varies in terms of approach. It could be collective, it could be one-on-one, or take any different approach. Thank you, TCM.
Okay, thank you, Winnie. Any further comments or questions? And if there is, yes, Brian Bonner.
Thank you, DCM Stoll. Greetings to His Worship the Mayor, the DCMs present, and to you, Deputy Head of Durban Tourism, Siswinile. It's not a question, but it is a comment. And in addition to today's forum and many forums to come, is that on behalf of Oceans Umhlanga, I would like to express our humble appreciation for the environment, enabling environment that Durban Tourism and the city of Durban that has created and is creating in amidst the furore of uncertainty of what is happening with our economy. It is very, very appreciative and comforting to see our metro playing its part. As you all know, that we are in engagements with an international hotel brand which is coming to Durban, which is committed for the next 10 years in the Radisson Blu in Umhlanga. So we've had a flurry of questions from our international associates who we're engaging in terms of investment into the development and also in the country as well, financial institutions. So I just want to express that as business in the city, we applaud the leadership from His Worship the Mayor, the DCMs, the heads of department, particularly the tourism sector. And I'm just saying our hand is up. However, we can help Siswinile to echo and tell the good story of Durban on behalf of business where possible at your various platforms and roadshows. Please do count us in or count me in. It will go a long way in terms of telling the story that business is continuing to invest in the city. Given where we've come from, the lockdown regulations, COVID-19, and very recently the unrest that have sort of shaken our economy, but we are on a path to recovery, and the results are very, very visible. I thank you. Ngiyabonga, Job.
Okay, now thanks, Brian. There is another hand, live CID. I'm sure that's not the name, maybe it's the company. So live CID BU, yes, if you can talk. Okay, if there is no comment, I saw your hand was up, but if there is no comment, then Roshni.
Thanks.
So that we can start to wrap up, I would like to invite the mayor for his final comments after these comments that were made by participants. Roshni?
Thanks, DCM Sithole. I see Janet Aldworth in the chat. This is what her comment is. She says, "Thank you for a well-presented and concise update. I feel optimistic that you are focusing on what needs to be done to bring Durban into a busier time. I would, however, like a greater focus on keeping the city and the feeder streets in the city much cleaner. Many of our streets are badly littered, especially where we have informal settlements that have sprung up within our city areas. It gives a bad impression on our city. The beachfront area is clean, but often not further away. It is really important. People in the rickshaw, on the rickshaw bus, and other tourists are seeing this ugly side of our lovely city. Thanks.
Okay, no, thanks, Roshni. Any other final comment before I request His Worship to give his final comments? Any other comments? No. Okay. Can I then request His Worship to give us his final words before we conclude the meeting?
Thank you very much, DCM. Let's also express our words of gratitude to all our participants today. We want to appeal to all of us in the sector in tourism that our businesses, let us make it a point that they adhere to the COVID-19 regulations, so that we do not invite unnecessary really suspension of licenses and all of that, because we are ready to host our visitors. That will also put the city to the correct path when evaluations and assessments are conducted in terms of our compliance in relation to COVID-19. We also wish to encourage all our partners to ensure that you work with us as a city to continue to preserve the environment, to clean our city. Also, we are engaged in an operation called Operation Good Hope, where we fix street lights, we deal with drainage systems, we maintain roads, we patch potholes. So we need to work with you in ensuring that we give a good message out there about our city. As your leadership, we'll try by all means that we prevent to have negative stories in the public discourse, but we bring more of positive messages, including the accolades that we have received. Most of the metros in South Africa were downgraded by the agency called World Credit Rating Agency. But our municipality received AA+ status, which then therefore confirms that the city is handling its finances in a manner that is expected, but there is more of a responsiveness to our creditors. There is also more of certainty when it comes to our financial policies and so on and so on. So that on its own, it gives us more exposure to those who must visit us, that we are indeed a city that is hard at work. As I've alluded to the fact that we recently held the biotechnology convention here in the city. Today we were receiving the delegation from ICASA, preparing for the conference to be held, and other conferences that the team has also highlighted. So we need to give an assurance to our visitors that they won't regret coming here to this beautiful and the warmest city. With those words, colleagues, let's continue to work together. Let's protect our families. Let's protect our neighbors and the entire society, and fight against COVID-19. Will then succeed together. Thank you very much.
Siyabonga Mayor, and siyawuthanda music lapho e-office. Shaya kahle siyawuzwa. Thank you very much. There's a nice music in the background there at your office. It shows. It shows.
I didn't hear that. So that means my staff is working properly.